Save those good
Yeah.
for the podcast.
Okay, so this is episode 2. Last week we kind of delved deep into, actually more like surface stuff, into kind of just Silicon Valley as a whole and like what happens to me and my brother. Today, I'm alone in terms of brothers. Christian is out sick today, but luckily we have a guest that we were going to have regardless. His name is Anthony, a.k.a. Pornsithit, a.k.a. Porno. He's a good friend of mine, but he's a part of the industry. He's in the industry, and he's here to kind of either agree or disagree with some of what we talked about last week in terms of how Silicon Valley kind of troubles us. But I'll let him intro himself. Go ahead, bud.
Thank you, man. Good to be here.
Yeah.
I moved to Silicon Valley about 2014. First for school, to just go to like San Jose State. Mostly just because that whole allure of, hey, move to Silicon Valley. There's a huge amount of tech out here. This is where it's all like happening type of thing. Job market's going to be huge. There's going to be tons of opportunities. So yeah, moved out here, graduated 2016, and then I just started kind of looking for jobs and stuff. I've been in the corporate industry for about, I want to say 2 years now, doing kind of like off and on stuff, not necessarily in my actual field of work that I wanted to get into originally, but
And what did you want to do originally?
So originally, I went to school to be a graphic designer or an industrial designer. And before school was industrial design, I realized that just looking at kind of the whole tech, everything's on a screen nowadays. Everything's all on a kind of like a flat surface.
Yeah.
Especially with your phones and your computers, it's all about like apps and websites and web apps and this and that. And so I transferred over to graphic design because I knew that I was going to actually like maybe get a job more down the market. Yeah. Those kind of skills are more transferable into other fields in terms of like startups that want graphics, startups that want a web page or an app or anything like that. So I kind of like felt that the whole job market for a creative field is going to be in graphic design.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and but the thing is, I never got a job in graphic design. You kind of take what you get out here, and so I first started doing some kind of like data annotation stuff for a contract with Apple, and now I'm working for a different company as an escalation specialist. I escalate and verify if bugs are kind of like legit from another team, and then once I figure out that those are actually qualify as bugs, I'll escalate them to our engineering so they can have like a deeper dive into like what exactly is going on after I verify
Nice. Okay.
Stuff like that.
So clearly we brought the right guy on. From what me and Christian were talking about last week. What me and Christian were talking about last week was like, we don't like him because everything's expensive. And now it's like, we got the dude that can actually get into some stuff here, obviously.
Yeah, so, definitely.
Yeah, we talked a little bit last night about like SEO and all that kind of stuff, which is we're both trying to kind of figure out, puzzle piece it together sort of situation. But no, yeah, you definitely got some knowledge hidden away in that beautiful mind of yours.
Thank you.
Yes.
Beautiful inside and out,
that's
as they
it.
say.
That's it. Yeah, it's not just your mind. That's it.
No, just kidding.
But yeah, so let's talk about, I think, well, let's just start with your feeling. Let's just get an overall scope of how you feel about living here. Because that was kind of our main thing as for me and my brother was we're not analytical. We're not a part of the tech industry at all. We're not, even remotely close or interested in any of this stuff. So what we talked about mostly was how we just don't have a place in Silicon Valley, and it's basically created this monster of an environment that we're just not a part of it all. And so it's frustrating because we're not making the money that it takes to live out here, not even comfortably, but semi-comfortably, right? Things like that. And so, I mean, you're in the industry for the most part, and I kind of want your take on how you feel about living here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so it's kind of like, where do I start type of thing. There's so many aspects of Silicon Valley, both good and bad. And I guess I could just clarify, first of all, that, everyone has different opportunities when it comes to Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is like maybe some people go to school to be an engineer and then they have good parents, or maybe they have good connections and they get into a job right out of college.
Right.
Or maybe they're just like, they go to school, they have a debt, they go back, they maybe land a job that's like okay pay,
Right.
but it's like a contract or something like that, and then they end up still like living back at their parents,
Right.
and doing the same thing and just kind of like grinding it out,
Yeah, exactly.
like everyone else is doing. But so my experience, I've always been on my own. I've always just like try to reach for it, try to figure out like what is going to make it out here. So yeah, I tried different things. I mean, I could definitely say the whole job application process it feels like it's a little, I don't know, like to me, my perspective of applying for jobs out here is you have all these opportunities, you see all these job boards. There's always constantly some new job board popping up for this industry and that industry, and then you're getting these I guess what are they? Recruiters. Yeah, you're getting these tech recruiters. They're always trying to hit you up for stuff. Yeah. Which just that aspect alone is different because half of them aren't even recruiters for the company. Yeah. They're these like third party recruiters, and these guys are based in like India, like random countries, not even in the United States. Random,
but also there's like random states within like obviously I'm getting stuff from like Washington, getting stuff from Texas, getting stuff from like Arizona. I'm like, what? Why? And yet it's for something that's down the street from me.
Exactly, and it's like, we're based in the East Coast, and you're like, okay, well, call me at this time because this.
Yeah, there was one in London. Yeah, that was hitting me up like, oh, because of like the time change, you have to email me 8 hours earlier than you should, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. Yeah. Okay, well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing I've always kind of seen, like when they're like, okay, let's do this interview, and they like kind of verify the time. And they're like, I'm on this, this side of the world, and like I'll be up at this time, type of thing. It's interesting.
It's insane.
Yeah, but I mean, just fast forward a little bit, to finally kind of like landing a job or something. It's never going to be what you expect it to be. Right. Like, and what I mean by that is, I've been doing contracts for like pretty big corporations out here, like tech corporations that have these high. Super high level, like, we have great standards and, like, we're doing these crazy innovative things. Yeah. And you do a contract for them, and these third-party contractors literally advertise it as, like, you're going to be working, this is our client, you're going to be working with them, and you immediately in your head, you're thinking, like, oh, I'm going to finally, this is it. I found it. This is my way in. This is my way in and this and that, getting my foot in the door, and then I'm just going to climb the corporate ladder. And I'm going to eventually, in 2-3 years, I'm going to be riding that Tesla. I'm going to have that, $1 million, $2 million house and a family and this and that.
Hundreds of thousands of engineers that are out here. Not everybody's riding around in Tesla.
Exactly. And even for the engineers, like I know engineers that are, my age that are still living with their parents. They're still paying off their bills and this and that. But that's not to say that there aren't some that are super successful already.
Of course.
Like there's, those kind of like, I guess you could say, unique cases where these guys are like, they hit something, they're at the right place at the right time.
But that's in any industry as well. So
exactly. And not to say that there's not a lot of that out there. Yeah. But a lot of that is out there for engineers, data analysts, front-end coders, back-end coders, people that, like they know how to build stuff through coding because those are the skills that you need to be successful out here. Right. And so what that does is it kind of like cancels out all these other industries, these like mom and pop shops, these kind of storefronts and this and that were successful, that were doing something that had, a lifestyle out here. Yeah. And maybe they're like, okay, my kids, like maybe pass on this business to my kids. Right. They're going to be doing fine. But no, like just because of the way like tech came in and kind of like just took over the job industry and, just the whole cash flow in general. Yeah. And I guess like controlled the job market. There's just like this huge shift of what's really available. Right. And so for me, it's like, I hate coding. I know it's super useful. Right. I can see a lot of potential in like being able to have some form of code in your, your skill set. Yeah. Because being able to kind of like, I guess, layer it on top of what you already have just kind of makes you this like superset type of thing. And that's what all these companies are like searching for. They're looking for that kind of niche little golden pony that they can add to their startup that can just give them a whole different perspective.
Exactly. Well, this is what we talked about last night. What I'm saying, like, so I'm a writer, right? And so I do like content writing, copywriting, UX, whatever. But the thing was, like, I had an interview the other day that went okay, but it was a third party recruiter, and she did the same thing to me, where it's like, she goes, okay, like tell me about your writing. And so I go into all that stuff, the things I've done, things I'm doing, and all that kind of stuff. But then they hit you with the questions like, well, what kind of software can you use? And I'm like, well, what does it matter? Like if I'm a content writer and a copywriter and stuff like that, it's like if I'm doing that job, why do you need me to or want me to do like coding or work with software and stuff like that? Where it's like that's not what I'm interested in. Number one, and number two, it's like that's not what I'm good at. Like I'm good at this thing. Like you plug me into that position for that particular job, but the thing is they're looking, especially for these recruiters, is they want something that's not necessarily well-rounded, but something where it's like it's going to hit the key points of what companies are looking for, even if it's not the position that they're looking for it in. You know what I mean? Which is frustrating because, I mean, everybody's kind of clamoring towards these like ideal goals and what they want in your resume and your skill sets and stuff like that, but it's not necessarily like functional. You know what I mean? In terms of me wanting to actually do anything with this software knowledge, quote unquote. You know what I mean? So that's a bit frustrating in terms of what you're talking about when it comes to like having a grasp on what they want or what they're looking for from employees, stuff like that, or what people are trying to get jobs with. It's like, okay, well, I'll write this on my resume. Like I can use this program, or I can use this software, or whatever. But it's like, I don't know. It's everyone's trying to meld into this thing that's like for the tech companies themselves, but not actually. I don't know.
Yeah, and I could definitely riff off of that. Like, I guess you could say, like, from a perspective of going through the process of hiring interviewing with, all these recruiters and other companies and stuff like that, is because the startup culture is so big out here.
Yeah.
What they're looking for is, these startups are looking for, maybe a team of, 10 to 20 people. And so instead of like having, a set of a five people team that can do SEO, they're going to we want one guy that does SEO and he has to do all these other all these other roles.
Very true.
Because we're like on this super lean startup.
Right.
Lean startup fucking goal in our, because we have limited time, we have limited resources,
exactly.
We're just kind of like
for sure
choking, and we're just trying to figure out what's going to put us on top, or also what is going to make us successful, and how can we kind of like eliminate
like four other
jobs by like having this like one guy that has 5-10 years of experience and is like super I guess he has like unique, I guess, like you said, like abilities, maybe they have, other coding skills and this and that. But it's really like, you're a writer. Like you are good at writing. That's that's your thought process.
And that's the thing too, is what she was saying. She's like, oh, we can maybe stick you into some boutiques that might use you. I'm like, realistically, like the boutiques aren't the ones that would want me. I would think like, like these big companies like Facebook, YouTube, Google, whatever. It's like, whatever it might be, these companies that have obviously a much higher budget be like, I want this guy who's specifically good at this thing. I'll plug him into this job. Versus a boutique where it's like, they want someone who can do 4 jobs in one, and that way they don't have to pay 4 people.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, with that knowledge, I mean, it's even convolutes certain ideals of what these big companies are looking for. It's like, why do you need a guy who has, certain skill sets that don't parallel with the interest in the things that I'm good at, certainly, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I guess that's the thing, too, especially with applying for jobs out here, you're not going to get exactly what you want. You're going to move out here thinking you're going to get a dream job or something like this kind of dream, way of life, I guess you could say. But what's happening is you're applying for jobs and you're going to have to kind of make compromises. Yeah. You're not going to, you're going to say, I want to go here for writing, but now it's like, the job that you maybe came out here for, or the job that you're interviewing for, is like, we want your writing skills, but now we're going to put you in a kind of, I guess, a situation where that is going to make you uncomfortable, which is good because it improves growth, like for like personal growth, because it'll cause you
of course.
to learn these new skills, and that's like one of the positive parts about Silicon Valley. But when in terms of like, is this really what I'm good at?
Right.
Not necessarily.
Right.
And that brings me to like one of my other points. You're gonna think that.
Hold on.
Yeah.